Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another YouTube video. In this video, we are going to be going over IPC. This is a continuation off of the last Electron Byte video that was uploaded on this channel. So if you have not seen that yet, go ahead and check it out since we're going to be using basically that same exact project structure. We're just going to be copying and pasting that into this current folder so we have everything that we did in that last video. So again, if you haven't watched that, go ahead and check it out before continuing on with this video. Okay, so first things first, we are going to open up a file explorer and we are going to go and navigate over to the boilerplate that we used in the last video. So for me, that is here. We are going to go into Electron Byte React, and we are just going to highlight all of these and Control C and go here and hit Control V. Should allow us to paste, maybe not. Let's go back into that. Give me 1 second. Then we're going to paste it into our current working directory like this. That way it's here. I'm doing this in the file explorer off to the right here. You can see it's currently copying. Okay, so now once it's done copying, we see all these files have been pasted over into our current directory. So what we want to do is we want to go File, go to Terminal, New Terminal. That way we can get this up. And we just want to make sure everything's working, so we're just going to do npm run dev just to verify before we get started that all of this is currently working. And we can see that yes, it is currently working. So in the last video, we talked about getting this guy to be full screen, but for the case of this video, since the IPC handler we're going to be building is kind of following along with the documentation from Electron, we're going to be changing this from being full screen just to maximizing. So let's go ahead and press F11. That'll bring it out of full screen. We can go ahead and close this window. So we're going to go ahead, hit Electron. We're going to go to main and then into index. So there's a couple things we have to do in this file to get interprocess communication working, which is IPC. First things first, we're going to uncomment full screen. We are going to get rid of context isolation and node integration. And since we're getting rid of both of these, we can just go ahead and get rid of that comment as well. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to format my tabs because I don't enjoy them being half tabs. That way it's just clear for me to read. If you want to do this, go ahead. But I'm just going to go through each function. This is just a personal preference thing. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. So if you want to skip ahead, feel free to do that. Okay. So now that those are all done, we're going to head back up here to the top with our create window. So since we got rid of full screen here, we are going to have to create a win.maximize. So we want to call win.maximize. This is going to maximize our window instead of full screening our window, which will allow us to see the window title, which is what we're going to be changing. So first things, after we do that, what we need to do is we need to go to source. Since we're creating a IPC and we just got rid of the environments that it wants, right? Because I did not. Okay. Okay. So that works. All right. So we need to go ahead and get rid of a couple different files. So inside of this samples file, we have a node API.ts. Since we aren't using that node integration, we need to get rid of this file. So we can go ahead and hit samples here, and we can go and hit delete. We can remove that to the cycle bin since we're not going to be using it. Let's go into components, app, and we are going to get rid of this. We're going to close app.tsx, and then we're going to go into main.tsx. Here we have samples node API. We are going to go ahead and get rid of that as well. And we're going to save that file. Okay. So once we have that done, we can go ahead and start working on the IPC. So down here they have an example IPC handler, right? We're going to be doing something similar to this, but not quite. So let's go ahead and create a folder under Electron. We're going to call this IPC. And let's go ahead and create a file under that, or a file, not folder. And we're going to call this IPC handlers.ts. So we want to, so there's a few things that we need to import here. To be able to change application windows, we want to do browser window, and we want to do IPC main. So IPC main allows you to access the interprocess communications like main thread. So that way we can import things, or that way we can add different handlers to it. So this is going to be from Electron. And from here, we're just going to create a couple different functions. So one thing we want to do is create a constant, and since they're IPC handlers and they handle an IPC action or a IPC event, I like to prefix it with handle. So then we want to say, what do we want this to do? We want it to set the window title, right? So every IPC handler takes an event as a parameter, and that's going to be an IPC main event. If you're not using TypeScript, don't worry, you don't have to type that. And then we need the parameter of the parameter that we'll be taking in. So now we have this. So browser window has a neat thing called from web. It has a neat function on it that's called from web contents. So you can get browser windows from web contents. The nice thing about the event is that its sender is a web contents object. So if we want to do web contents, we can do event. I'm going to add a null check here to make sure that we're not accessing a null object. Even though it should never be null, I still just out of safety would rather do that. Then we're going to do constant window, and we are going to call browser window. And now we are going to create the, we're going to use that function we were talking about from web contents. It's pretty clear what we're going to be passing here. We're going to be passing in that web contents that we did here. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to do window.setTitle, and we're going to pass in title. Okay, this is basically all this is doing. So what I want to do now is I want to do I want to create another folder. Let's call this IPC actions, and we are going to do constant IPC underscore actions, and we are going to do we're going to create a couple different ones. We're going to do window, and we are going to do, or actually we're going to do a single one for right now. Then we want to do set underscore window underscore title, and we are going to do set underscore window title. So now we have an IPC actions, right? But inside of our IPC actions, or inside of our IPC handlers file, we're going to import that IPC underscore actions. Now I need to import it. Slash IPC actions. If you are using the PS config paths from the last video, this path will probably be different. Just currently not using it. So now that we have IPC actions, we're going to destructure that IPC actions. So what we're going to do is we're going to do constant set window title equals IPC actions dot window. So now we have that. This will resolve to a string, right? It resolves as a string. We want to do constant IPC handlers. This is going to be an array of objects. We are going to do event. You could even do like trigger or something like this. And we want to do set window title. And then we're going to do callback. And we are going to do handle set window title. And that's the only thing that'll be in this. Now, if you add more, you'll just do the same things here. You can even create an interface for this if you'd like to. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the exporting so that way we can register these handlers with our IPC. So now we want to just do export constant register IPC handlers. We don't really care about any parameters, so we don't have to worry about that. So we're just going to do IPC handlers. And then since we want to register these, we're just going to do for each. And we're going to get the handler. And then we're going to type this as an event, string callback any. And then we will arrow function this into here. Like I said, you could create an interface for this typing for all of this if you'd like to. Just for the sake of this video and less code, I'm not going to. And now we are going to be using this IPC main object we have up here, right? So IPC main is the basically the main IPC object that allows you to do inter-process communication between the backend and the renderer. So what we want to do is we're going to do IPC main.on, and then we want to call handler.event, and then handler.callback. So if you aren't fully versed with like how events and stuff work in, I mean, just any application, the events always take a string for the event name when it's called, and then we also always take a callback, right? And the callback will be called once that event has been invoked. So now that we have done this, let's go back to the index file, where this is where our browser window's at. And just below the async function create window, we have this app.whenReady.then create window. We're going to get rid of this create window. We are going to open this up into an arrow function. And then we are going to call, I did register IPC handlers. And then underneath that, we want to add that create window function back. Now, if you don't add this create window function back, you won't ever see a window. So you want to make sure that whenever you yeet that, you always want to add it back because we need the window to be able to see anything in our application. This register IPC handlers is going to be calling this function that we just made that goes through this array of IPC handlers, and then it's going to register to the IPC main event system. So that uses this handler event, which is this set window title, which we get from IPC actions.window, and then that resolves to a string called set window title. Then from there, once that event has been fired, it's going to use this callback, which is the handle set window title. We are going to take the event from the IPC main event. We're going to get the sender, and we are going to create a web contents object out of the sender. And then we have the window, where we call browser window.from web contents web contents. Then we'll call window.setTitle title. Okay. Once we have those done, we need to go to our preload file, and we need to expose these in the main into the main world. Something we're going to want to do is import context bridge from Electron. Don't do Electron /render. We don't want that one. We want the one just from Electron, right? Actually, I think this is the same one. Yeah, but just make sure it says Electron, just in case they are different. Down here at the bottom, we have this set timeout. We're going to go underneath that. We're going to call context bridge dot expose in main world. Okay. And we are just going to create a object, an object key of IPC API. And then we are going to, because this is basically the API key, and then this object contains the functions of said API. And then we're just going to call set window title. We're going to get a title. We're going to type that as a string. And then we're going to IPC render dot send. And then here, this is going to take that same object we have here, right? So we need to import that up here. I'll import IPC actions. and then we want to destructure that IPC actions again. We want to call the set window title there equals IPC actions dot window. Okay, and then we're going to go down here, and for our event callback for the trigger, we're going to do set window title, and then we are going to pass in title as the args, which it does seem to be that you can pass in multiple args so on the channel, so you'd be able to pass in as many args as you wanted here instead of using interfaces. But instead of doing that, I like to use interfaces. It just makes it much easier to keep track of different variables that instead of using variadic arguments, which variadic arguments are things that vary in length. So this dot 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 args colon any array, that is technically considered a variadic argument or parameter, and it can take any number of parameters. So now that we have this, we need to go to our renderer. We're going to be building this stuff in the renderer. So let's create, under our data folder here that we created in the last video, we're going to create IPC. If you don't have any of these folders, I would make sure that you go back and watch the other video so that way you do have these folders, so that way you can follow along with this front end side. The back end side doesn't entirely matter, but for the front end side, you need to have these folders if you want to follow the same structure. So we are going to do IPC messages.ts. So what we want to do is we want to call constant. We want to get that set window title. And we are going to say window sub IPC API. This is going to throw an error at you, but it's fine. You can just ignore that. Then what we want to do is we want to export the set window title function, right? Because this will say that like this file can't be processed by TS since it has no like export or anything like that. So you just want to make sure that you export that set window title from here. And then any other functions you add into this preload thing here, right? Any other functions you do will need to go inside of here. So you'll add them here. So like test function, right? If we add a test function in there, then we would just do that test function there, right? So any other functions that are added need to go in here so you can access them on your renderer. If you have any questions about this, feel free to ask them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. If I need to make an even more in-depth video on IPC handlers, I can very well do that as well. So let's see. Something we need to do is tsconfigs. Need to add a tsconfig path for this, so we're just gonna call it IPC slash data slash IPC slash star. Access all those. So now we can access from tsconfig paths this IPC all, and then that'll let us get these files as well. So let's go to components now. Let's go to apps, and we're gonna start putting this together. So we're gonna import that function, set window title. IPC messages. And then we already have a button on our front page. We can use that. So we have this button on click where we have a set count, right? So let's go ahead and get rid of this set count plus 1. And let's do set window title. And let's just say IPC is working. So that way if the title changes to IPC is working, we know that IPC is obviously working. Again, you guys can ignore this error. I know it's right up here, just you can go ahead and ignore that, which is totally fine. It's just a TypeScript error. If you're using JS, you probably won't get that issue. I believe it is just a JS error. I'm formatting my tabs here, so you guys don't have to do that because it's kind of a annoying one for me. We can go ahead and get rid of this React state since we're not using it anymore. We can get rid of this, and just type change window title. So that's that. Okay. So now that we've done those, let's do npm run dev. And we should see it. Module not found. Okay, so I've went ahead and found out what was causing this preload issue with this. It's because our browsers were being sandboxed. So if we just go into the Electron main index.ts, under web preferences, just do sandbox and then make that false, and then that should get rid of that preload error with this not being. Now we have set window title that we can use inside of our preload. Expose that in the IPC API main world. And if we do npm run dev down here, it should start up and we shouldn't get any issues. So now we see this. So our current window title is Electron plus Fight plus React. If this does work, we'll see that change once we click this button and it says IPC is working. So currently we do have a working inter-process communication system. Feel free to take whatever I've shown you today, try to expand upon it and make it better. Is this kind of just a base way of how I would handle IPC? There's definitely better ways out there to handle IPC stuff and just different ways to structure it. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe for more content, and I will see you guys in the